Okay, so with these frosting pieces, I'm really just trying to be sensitive to their silhouette first because the frosting is really complicated. And when I over model it, it makes the painting feel dead. And so just really trying to be sensitive to the shapes that I'm seeing these frosting pieces make. And that's a combination of carving with the colors that surround it, as well as like using the actual color of the frosting to paint it in, if that makes sense. So, so underneath these, I'm seeing like a shadow, like a darker shape underneath that. It's kind of a nuanced color. It feels warm. And it gets a little bit darker as it comes around. This edge here is still too high. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So yeah, I'm just getting the general shape in first. And then really in the shadow, well, in general with the frosting, I'm just trying to suggest. I feel like I just need a couple areas that have these ruffles kind of defined and then suggest it in other important areas. And then the rest I just kind of leave as a solid shape. And your eye tends to finish up the rest, um, kind of put the pieces together, and it makes it a more interesting painting to look at rather than painting every single ruffle. So I'm squinting down and really trying to be sensitive to the values that I'm seeing. And I know that as I round the cake here, they're going to get a little closer together, but be more in the light. You can see them kind of green. They're probably reflecting. Okay, so this area now should mix more of my dark frosting color. So, and as far as where to add this detail on where to define these frosting shapes, I've noticed that there's most definition where the form turns because that's where you get most contrast from your light. And so I think that because on this side it's mostly in shadow, on this side it's mostly in light. So right here in the middle, you get a lot of contrast. So that's usually where I try and put the focus or try and focus my efforts on defining these shapes of frosting that I'm seeing. Actually, seeing that there's some cool light bouncing back in. Okay, so here is a transition shape right there. As I see it, it's mostly in light here. It starts, there's contrast here, and then it kind of trails off here. And here it's like all the same, almost exactly the same value. There might be some bounce happening back there, some bounce color. Okay. All right, so I want to focus on this area. So oh, I have my glasses on. It's like that's blurrier than I remember. Oh, there we go. So now I'm looking at the shape, the shadow shape that my frosting pieces are making. And here I kind of am like painting these shapes, but just on a few of them. Just trying to be sensitive to their. Then I see that as the little piece kind of dips back into the cake, it like that undervalue there, it gets a little warmer. Right, and then on top of that, I'm going to add the most kind of like these highlighted ruffles that I'm seeing, but just on a couple of them. And just where I see the most contrast on these. Okay, that's starting to look. Okay, and I'm seeing like a cool bounce light in these ruffles. So I'm just going to suggest it with this violet because I feel like it's helping out. Okay. All right. It's starting to look pretty good. Okay, and I want that to be, I want this dark color that I'm seeing to be a little bit more saturated. Okay. Okay, and then these back ones, these back shapes here, I'm just squinting down and looking for the essential. And I feel like I can define these back shapes by just carving out the general silhouette. And just suggest a little bit. Okay. Trying to make a light color for my frosting that's a little cooler and not so yellow. That'll help you get some range, a little bit of variation in these, in my highlighted area over here. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. I feel like my plate here is needing some more attention. So thinking about the form of the plate, so the plate has an edge that's really thin, but it's still going to reflect some stuff because it's white and it's also very light. So I'm trying to leave that transition edge right there because that helps it feel like it has some form. Wow, and I'm seeing a lot of reflected light on this area right here, so I want to try and get that in. Yeah, that's nice. And I could use this reflected light to kind of carve my drawing of my frosting. That actually worked out really nice. Happy accident. Okay. So I'm not too concerned about what's happening on the edges of my cake because it's not really the main focus here. Okay. And besides, these frosting pieces just kind of melt into the light side there. So, all right, so now I want to work on my top part.